Hi, boys and girls. This is Mr. Slates, and we are ready to start Logic of English Lesson 12. Let me tell you some things that you're going to need to have today. First of all, you're going to need all your phonograms, including these new ones, my KN and my GN, and we'll talk about those sounds in just a minute. You're also going to need some sort of a whiteboard with a whiteboard marker or something that you can all write on. Does that make sense? You're also going to need your student notebook. So if you turn your student workbook to page 213, it looks like this. It's the start of lesson 12. All right, let's talk about these new phonograms, okay? Now, both of them make the exact same sound. Isn't that nice when something makes the exact same sound? Both of them also have a silent letter in them, okay? So let me give you a word, knife, knife. Knife starts with this phonogram, KN. But do I say knife? Is that what I say? I don't, do I? The K is quiet in this phonogram, knife. But together the K and N work together to make that sound. All right? Let's look at this one. I think of a word, let's see, gnaw, gnaw. The word gnaw, like a dog will gnaw on a bone, starts with my GN. Now, do I hear the G in that word? Do I say gnaw? I don't. The GN works together to make that sound, and the G is completely silent. Here's what you're going to do. I want you to look at that first page of your student workbook for lesson 12. In each of these words, you're simply just going to underline either your KN or your GN phonogram. And here's what I want you to explore. So two things, underline, explore. Explore where in the words the GN and the KN are. Are these at the beginning of words, the middle of words, or at the end of words? Or are they in two separate places? So you might want to pause the video for a second because I'm going to keep going. What you should have noticed is that this is only ever at the beginning of an English word. Does that make sense? It's not like there's anything at the end here that prevents it from being at the end, like an IUVJ, right? But it is always at the beginning of English words. Now, what you know about this? What did you notice? This one can be in lots of different places, can it? But mostly in this sheet, you saw it at the beginning or the end. It can be in either place. So when your teacher goes to teach you one of these words that has a G in it, say the word sign, they would go S-I-N, and here's your clue. They would say use the two-letter N that I can use at the beginning or end of a word. So you know, oh, it's not that one. Does that make sense? Thumbs up if that makes sense. All right, we're going to move on. Here is where you are going to need a whiteboard of some kind. I'm going to write a word on the whiteboard. You just pay attention for just a second, okay? All right. Someone look at that word and tell me what that word is. Vowels. Vowels. Awesome. And why are vowels so important? Turn and talk to your neighbor or turn and talk as a class. Pause me for a minute because I'm going to keep going. We know that vowels are so important because, number one, every word in English has to have a vowel, but even more crazy, every syllable needs to have a vowel, right? I'm going to go ahead and erase this, and I'm going to move these out of the way, all right? I'm going to write a word on the board, and I want you to write it for yourself and try to read it. Here's your first word. M-A-T-C-H. Go ahead and write it and then try to read it. All right. You should have read it match, match, right? Now, let's do what we normally do where we underline any phonograms we see in this word. So what phonogram do you see? You should see this TCH, right? So we're going to underline it. Now we're going to look at my vowel, right? This is my vowel. This time I'm going to point it out, and I'm going to expect you to point out these vowels later. Look at my vowel. Is it making an A sound, an A sound, or an ah sound. Match. You should have noticed it's making its ah sound, isn't it? It's making its first sound. So what are we going to put over the top of my A as a symbol? We're going to put this. Now, this should help you remember, oh my goodness, there's a rule. There's a rule when there's a TCH. Do you remember the rule? The rule is there's a single vowel, meaning one, before the TCH. And it always makes either its short or its third or broad sound. So it's never going to go mach. It's going to go match or match. Now, do you see how that vowel is sort of closed in by this consonant and this consonant phonogram? It's sort of closed in. Do you see that? It can't get out. We call that a closed syllable vowel. Can you say that? Closed syllable vowel. Okay? Now, here's what you need to know about closed syllables. When there is a vowel and it's closed in, guess what? It is never, ever going to make its long A sound. In this case, the A. Or if it's another vowel, my E, my I, my O, my U, it's never going to make its name. It's always going to make its first short sound or its third broad sound. All right? Let's do another word. I'm going to write a word on the board. This is so simple. You go ahead and copy it and try to read it. G-O. What's that word? First write it and then say it. It's go. Good. Now I want you to look at that word and I want you to mark the vowel in this word. If it's the first sound, you're going to put that little smiley face, right? If it's its second sound, you're going to put the line, meaning its name. If it's its third sound, you're going to put two little dots. So go ahead and mark it for yourself. You can even help each other in your groups. Now, is this vowel short or long or broad? It's long, isn't it? So how are we going to mark it? With a line. Nice. With a line. Now, this has a different term or a different word that we use to describe it. Does this vowel look like it's closed in anymore? Like this A in match? It's not, is it? It's not closed in. It's like one consonant, bloop, fell off. So there's no consonant on this side. And do you notice what sound it's making? It's making its name, right? We call this an open syllable vowel. Can you say that? Open syllable vowel. Now, what does that mean? We learned a rule a while ago about A, E, O, U. Do you remember it? If you remember it, say it. A, E, O, U. Say their name at the end of a syllable. Now, they say their name because it's open. There's no consonant next to it to close it in, to force it to say its short or first sound or its broad sound. Okay, so that's why we say go and not ga, right? So I want you to know the reason, not just, I know that word, that's go. I want you to know the reason why. It's because it's open. There's no consonant closing it in. Now that's true of a word like this too. Go ahead and add ing to the end of the word go. What is that new word? It's going, isn't it? Not going. And people are like, wait a minute, Mr. Spence, there's another letter there. It's closing it in. But I want you to look at that other letter. Is that other letter a consonant or is it a vowel? It's a vowel, isn't it? Now, this is where kids get confused, right? Because wait, you taught us this goes oi, oi, oi. But remember, we have to be good thinkers. We can't always be so exact with those rules and never go away from those rules. We have to think about all the rules. And in this word, going does not make sense. Going, my O is at the end of the syllable. It's open, so it says go in, go in. All right, let's do another word. Go ahead and write this word, M-A, M-A. What's that word? Ma. Ma. Do any of you call your mother Ma? Probably not. You probably call her Mom. Okay? But some people call their mother or their mom, Ma. They'll say, hey, Ma. So I want you to look at that vowel, and I want you to mark it. Is it going a, or ah? Put the symbol over the top. Look, I'm going to put 2 little dots. So someone explain, why am I putting 2 little dots over my A in ma? It's because it's making its 3rd sound. It's going ah. Now we also learned a rule about this. Do you remember the Waldo rule? Now I don't have the Waldo rule up on my board because I want you to start to think of these things in your brain, not just always have to have a card in front of you. So remember the Waldo rule? It had a little A like this with a line, and then it had a WA and a line, and an A with an L and a line and a line. Okay, so when do I hear that ah sound? What's the rule that I know? You're going to use an ah sound at the end of a word, after a W, or before an L, right? Good. So is this an open or is this a closed syllable? Is it open or is it closed? It's open, isn't it? Which is why you need to be smart. It's not saying A, is it? I don't say May. Hey, May, how you doing? That could be someone's name, but that's not what I would call my mom, right? I wouldn't call her May. Sometimes when it's open, it can say ah. Okay, so this is ma. That's why we mark it that way. Let's do one last one. Go ahead and write this word. B-O-R-N. Underline any phonograms. All right. What's that word? Born, right? What did you underline? You should have underlined the O-R, right? And what kind of a phonogram is that? I'll give you a hint. R. It's an R-controlled phonogram, right? R-controlled phonogram. So look, we're not going to say this is open or closed because that O-R I know in my head goes or. They stick together in that word. They're not going to separate out. You're not going to see the O and the R. It's bore, or. So the word is born, and it's making that or phonogram sound. All right, so really quick review. A closed syllable is one where my vowel is closed in on both sides by a consonant. Usually what that means is my vowel is going to make its first short sound. It will never make its long sound in a closed syllable. So for reading, if you get to this word, you should never say mach. That doesn't make any sense. Well, first of all, you know before a cha, the A can't make an A sound anyway, but it's also closed in. Secondly, open syllable. Open means the vowels at the end of the syllable, it's gonna say its name. So like going or become, okay? Those are open syllables because there's no consonant on the other side closing it in, all right? The A, if it's at the end of a word, it often says ah. If it's at the end of a syllable, it's going to say a. But if it's closed in, it's going to say ah. I want you to be thinking about all of these things as you go to read words and write words. Be thinking. All the things you've learned should all come together to help you to both write words correctly, and then when you go to read, to be able to read those words correctly as well. Now, I want you to watch a quick video about our new spelling rule.